He used to think that a marriage dies with a scream. But his didn't die with noise. It died quietly, slowly, invisibly. It died the moment he stopped being a man she could feel. Not a provider. Not a helper. Not a friend. A man. He became weightless in his own home. Present, but not felt. Alive, but not desired. The day he saw the truth. The day he realized he had become a ghost in his own marriage. Was the day everything changed. This is the story of how a man rebuilt his strength, his identity, his presence, and woke up the desire in a woman who once forgot it even existed. Every collapse begins with tiny shifts that no one notices until it's too late. He didn't wake up one morning as a weak man. He became one gradually. He stopped taking care of himself. He stopped challenging himself. He stopped leading. He stopped being unpredictable. He stopped being masculine. Piece by piece, he replaced strength with softness, confidence with hesitation, direction with passivity. And at first, she didn't resist. She simply adjusted, taking more responsibility, more control, more load. But desire doesn't survive this balance. A relationship needs polarity. Masculine and feminine, assertive and receptive, direction and flow. He unknowingly collapsed that polarity. He turned into emotional compliance. A man who surrendered every decision to avoid conflict. It wasn't kindness. It was fear. And fear is the fastest way to make a woman emotionally step away. She didn't leave physically. She left mentally, piece by piece. Until eventually he was living with a partner who respected everything except him. But he didn't see it. He interpreted her frustration as anger, not exhaustion. He thought being even more accommodating would help. Instead, it suffocated the last sparks of attraction. What died wasn't the relationship. What died was the man inside it. There was a point when he realized that their home was no longer a partnership. It was a survival system. Everything was functional. Everything was efficient. Everything was calm. And everything was empty. He could predict every conversation, every gesture, every week, every night. Their routine became a quiet desert, familiar, safe, and completely devoid of desire. He stopped flirting. She stopped responding. He stopped initiating. She stopped caring. They weren't fighting. Fights at least mean passion. They were just coexisting. He felt like he was disappearing. Not dramatically, but silently. Like sand slipping through fingers. He tried to convince himself that this was normal for long-term couples. That passion naturally fades. That routine is stability. But deep down, he knew the truth. He was no longer someone she could be attracted to. A woman cannot desire a man she has to mother. A woman cannot trust a man who cannot lead himself. A woman cannot fall for a man who abandoned his own masculine presence. He became emotionally invisible. And invisibility is the most painful form of loneliness. The moment of change didn't come with chaos. It came with silence. He didn't see rage in her anymore. Just neutrality. Not love. Not hate. Just an absence of expectation. That neutrality broke him more than any rejection could. It was the energy of someone who stopped believing change was possible. He looked at himself with brutal honesty for the first time in years. He saw the softness where there should have been strength. He saw the doubt where there should have been certainty. He saw the weakness where there should have been presence. He saw a man who was waiting for permission to exist. That was the day something ancient woke up inside him. The part of a man that refuses to be forgotten. Not for anyone else, but for himself. He promised that the man he had become would die right there. And a new one, or perhaps the original one, would be rebuilt from the ground up. His transformation didn't begin with noise. It began with discipline. Early mornings replaced late, empty nights. Intensity replaced hesitation. Goals replaced excuses. He trained not just his body, but his presence. A man's presence begins with stillness. He rebuilt that stillness. The kind that is calm, grounded, unshakable. He learned to carry himself with quiet confidence. Not arrogance. Not dominance. Just certainty. He rediscovered the forgotten parts of masculinity. Physical strength. Emotional stability. A sense of mission. Sexual polarity. Inner decisiveness. Protective direction. Masculine ambition. He stopped following emotional storms and became the anchor they crashed against. He replaced approval seeking with standards. He replaced passivity with intention. He replaced fear with grounded masculinity. This wasn't aggression. It was clarity. A man who knows his value doesn't need to raise his voice. His presence raises itself. And slowly, something shifted in her. Not instantly, but subtly. She began relaxing around him again. Her energy softened. Her frustration faded. Her body language changed. Her eyes lingered a little longer. Because a woman feels transformation before she understands it. He didn't chase her affection. He radiated the kind of masculine energy that pulls it naturally. And something deep inside her responded instinctively. Not logically. Not verbally. But emotionally. Biologically. Primally. This was the polarity that had been missing for years. Romance didn't return because he demanded it. Romance returned because he embodied the kind of presence a woman can fall into. He wasn't trying to win her back. He was becoming someone she could desire again. He didn't ask for closeness. He created the conditions where closeness naturally returned. He didn't request intimacy. He rebuilt the man she once felt drawn to. And she began responding with softer body language, more warmth, more openness, more femininity, more physical closeness, more emotional vulnerability. Heat returned between them, slow, steady, powerful. Not the chaotic passion of strangers, but the deep, romantic fire of two people rediscovering each other after nearly losing everything. There's nothing more romantic than a man who rises. Nothing more attractive than a man who leads with calm confidence. Nothing more seductive than a man who knows who he is. Their intimacy didn't return suddenly. It grew out of tension, chemistry, polarity, mystery, steadiness. He wasn't the boy she tolerated. He was the man she trusted. He wasn't the partner she balanced. He was the man she leaned into. And she began falling in love again. Not with the new version of him, but with the real one. The one he had buried. His biggest realization was simple and brutal. A woman does not lose attraction because she stops loving her man. She loses attraction because he stops being the man she can love fully. When he rises, her desire rises with him. When he leads, her heart relaxes. When he stands strong, she softens. When he knows his worth, she feels hers. He finally understood that a man cannot keep desire alive by sacrificing himself. A man cannot inspire passion by being passive. A man cannot create connection by abandoning confidence. A man cannot maintain love if he loses masculinity. The day he rebuilt himself. The day he rediscovered strength. The day he walked with intention again. She didn't just notice. She transformed with him. Because when a man rises, the entire relationship rises. This is not a story about winning a wife back. This is a story about a man reclaiming the life he should have lived all along. And that is why their marriage didn't just survive. It became better, deeper, stronger, and more passionate than ever.